Okay, so this shiur is Leilui Nishmat Dan Ben Hilda, and let's talk a little bit about Chanukkah. Every year on the 25th of Kislev, we celebrate Chanukkah for 8 days as a commemoration for the victory of the Hashmonaim or the Maccabim over the Greeks, which were actually Seleucians, but we call them Greeks for that, and the inauguration of the temple and the miracle of the small Pach Shemen. So maybe an old joke or a little old joke could really clarify and help us to understand the way we relate to this Chag and our approach to it. So an administrator for education entered one time a school, a secular school, somewhere in a secular Israeli town, and he entered 6th grade, and he asked Danny, which was one of the students, he says, please tell me, young lad, who broke the luchot? Who brought the tabernacles? So the kid says immediately, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. So that surprised administrator was really surprised. He's turning to the teacher and saying, and what do you have to say about that matter? So the teacher says, I'm going to tell you right away, if Danny told you it's not him, so for sure it's not him. He's really like lost. It goes like this. He goes to the principal and he tells him the whole entire ordeal. The principal says, takes the checkbook, says, just tell me how much it is and I'll write you a check. It's not a funny joke, but as they say, joke's on you, sheriff, you just hanged the wrong man. But that's the joke is on us, the way we relate to Chanukkah. And for most of us, this Chag starts and then it ends, and so on and so forth. Nothing major, has no impact on us besides maybe some extra pounds due to overeating of donuts, of ganiyot, and latkes and all other goodies like that. But it's a very nice holiday, non-committing, very easygoing, and according to many Jews, they will wish most of our holidays or more of our holidays will be on that matter. But when you look in Kabbalah books, and especially the Zohar, you really see that this light holiday has tremendous secrets in it, and it should be dealt with a little bit more, or should I say much more respect than we actually do it. It really deserves much more. So some say that Chanukkah, the word Chanukkah, what they call it Chanukkah, as the Gemara says, it says Chanu Chaf Hei. In other words, that the Jews in Israel, they stopped chasing after the oppressors on the 25th of Kislev. And another one, there's some more, but another one is that Chanukkah, right, stands for Chet Nerot V'Halacha Kevet Hillel. Chanukkah. In other words, we're adding a candle. Every day we add a candle. But what do we light the candles for? So some say that the lights of the Chanukkah that we light are a example, a commemoration for the menorah that was in the Mikdash, that menorah, that the light of the menorah was very, very important, and maybe even more meaningful than all the korbanot, all the sacrifice that they used to bring in Bet HaMikdash all together, and that Nerot Chanukkah and the Nerot of Bet HaMikdash are a testimony, or a strong testimony, that Am Israel, the Jewish nation, is directly influenced from the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that comes from above and really protects the Jews. I mean, I'll tell you the truth, honestly. If I was an Arab or claimed to be Palestinian, I would just look at history. I would say, like this, it doesn't make any sense. Because those Jews are going to win. Eventually they're going to win. Eventually they're going to win. So what am I wasting my time fighting over? But the hatred is so blinding that they can't even see that. But eventually we're going to win. Could be 2 years from now, could be 200 years from now. But at the end we're going to win. So that, the candle symbolizes that so much on that. And for that, the menorah that the Kohen Gadol lit every single night really explains what we call, or really expressed what we call ha'arat nefashot, the light in which comes to the overall souls of Am Israel, and the influence of the light that comes from above is not necessarily to make the Beit HaMikdash lit, because God is not afraid of the dark, but rather for something much more spiritual. And an explanation for the candle of Chanukkah you can also find in Tikkunei Zohar, in Tikkun Yud Gimel, that it says the Chad Chanukkah represents Sferat HaHod in what we call Etz HaChaim. And Sferat HaHod is the 8th Sfera, and the Zohar says, Shmone Yamim, that 8 days we have to light the candles in order to fix Sferat HaHod. To fix Sferat HaHod. And in Sferat HaHod, in a person, really represents arrogance, vainness, and feeling aloof. And these are bad qualities. I mean, these are really silly qualities, because there's always going to be somebody better than you, at least. So nothing to brag home about. You understand, Idan? So the lights of the Chanukkah come to fix this midah of the will of the person, of the individual, to really bring himself up, to really show himself up, and to really make his name great, and so on and so forth, above everybody, but not necessarily by doing, but more by putting other people down, and with all, with everything that needs to be done, Lashon Hara, lying, cheating, sounds like a Led Zeppelin song. But your time is going to come, by the way. That's the song, if you didn't know that. So, by putting everybody down, you think that you are staying up. And that's a very bad thing. That kind of midah really puts everything apart. Breaks everything apart. So, the need of the individual to really become a control freak without any consideration to anybody around him, that's a horrific midah, and that needs to be fixed. The candles of Chanukkah that we light is that chance that we have to actually fix that. So in a way, the dosage is increasing. We keep on increasing the dosage of medicine every single night until we reach the 8th day, and that's the complete dosage that we got, and hopefully will be fixed, if you know what to fix, of course. If you know that that's what it is. So, you take those 8 days and kind of try to fix it. It's tremendous work to do. If you remember, we spoke about the whole fight with of Yaakov, with the legs, Sferat HaHod, and Netzach, and so on and so forth. That all has to do with Chanukkah. As you could see, it's all around Chanukkah. So it's a tremendous avodah that one needs to do. Now, why is it dafka here on Chanukkah? Because those days are mesugal. They're, and we'll get to this in a second. Those days, every Chag, of course, have it, but those days are good to do that. So if you have this midah in you, really, you have a good chance to fix it if you do it now. In Shar HaKavanot of the Ari, in Chelek Bet over there, the Ari explains that during the time of the candle lighting, in which that is the half hour that we must have the candles on, then we have an ability to draw down tremendous spiritual lights through this world, to this physical world, from the spiritual world all the way down. And those lights are capable in supporting a person to really make the situation better, also more comfortable in this world, but also with yourself. I mean, one of the biggest problems that we have, that we don't feel good with ourselves. There is a internal turmoil that is always happening inside of all of us. And as such, many people react in different ways. Some people just, become oblivious to whatever is happening around them. They don't want to get in, and so on and so forth. The other person just give me donuts all day long, my pleasures. But to quiet this turmoil, this cognitive dissonance over there inside of us. So those days are really good by bringing those lights down, and not the northern lights that you guys want to go in a Reiki a week. But those lights are really coming down from above. They have an ability to do so. And the ability is of those lights is really to help you really go over all those obstacles that you might have in your life right now that prevent you from spiritual growth. Those lights can actually overcome it. And it's very symbolic because these are the darkest days of the winter. And yet the lights, and you could see it's with Gaber, so it's a hint for you of how you could do things. So even in your own darkness, all it starts with one candle, then keep on adding all the time, keep on adding all the time, keep on adding all the time. Don't surrender to the grind. One way to do so is to put your phone down, especially when somebody such good looking as me says Divrei Chochmah, right over there, peanut gallery. Hello. So when if you look at it this way, you could see that the Chanukkah that we are lighting is not only as a memory for some historical events that happened, or on the national level and so on and so forth, way back when in the past, but also helps us connect to spirituality that is being really revealed during those days that we have now by the kavanot that we have, and the kavanot of what we call Nachal Nerot Chanukah, right? That we have the special holy names that go with all these Nerot. In the Siddur of Mordechai Eliyahu, in Siddur Kol Eliyahu, so there is a big L'Shem Yichud, so he has all the kavanot that is bring there based on those kavanot that the Ari brings and the Rashash brings over there. So you could look into that. You can get the Siddur. It's a very fine Siddur. I like it. I use it myself many times. So you could look over there. It's a wonderful thing to look at. It's quite long, but you might understand what we are talking about here. So the mitzvah of the what? So the mitzvah of the Chag is lighting the candles for 8 days, and the minhag that we have today is, as we said before, is like Bet Hillel. On the first night we make 3 brachot, and those 3 brachot, according to the Ari, represents the 3 lines that really come down from in the structure that we have from Keter all the way down. These are the 3 lines that we call the 3 lines of Shefa, of abundance, that really come down. And according to the Ari, we have to light the menorah at the opening of the house, and that's the halacha also, at opposite side of the mezuzah, and the Chanukkah needs to be on a table or on a pedestal that is fairly low, but not lower than 10 tfachim. It doesn't need to be high, like some people do in the park, Lubavitch and all these drunken sailors, but there should be a little bit down, but not too far down, not below 10 tfachim. And the reason for that is the 10 tfachim should not be below that as a representation. And there's such mystical stuff in it, in terms of the candle and the receptacle and the oil and the flame. I mean, we can speak about this until Pesach, believe me. But the 10 tfachim, which will represent the Aseret HaSferot, the 10 Sferot of the Kabbalah of the Etz Chaim further down. So therefore, if the menorah is low, so when I'm lighting the menorah, let's say the menorah is here, right? So when I'm lighting the menorah, I'm bringing down the candle to the menorah, and that's a representation of symbolism for the fact that we receive our hashpa'ah, that we received our benefits and influence from above, and that we're able to bring the light of Chanukkah down from above down to our world, to our physical world. So even such a thing as lighting the menorah, we don't think about it. In the spiritual, content, it carries a tremendous significance. And Chodesh Kislev is what month in the Jewish calendar? The 9th month. The 9th. Kislev is the 9th month. If you're counting from Nisan, it's 9 months. And it's and the astrology symbol of this month is the bow and arrow, what we call keshet. Now, unlike the astrological drawings, the symbolism of you have, I think it's just either a bow and arrow or a guy on a horse with an arrow and so on and so forth. The keshet in which we refer to, the bow in which we refer to, is the rainbow. It's the rainbow that, surprisingly enough, was seen first in the month of Kislev. And in the parasha, when it says Noach, and that it says HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Noach the rainbow, that there will be a covenant between God and mankind, and it says Et kashti natati ba'anan v'ayita le'ot brit beini u'vincha u'ven haaretz, between me, you, and everybody else on land. And this is why we understand why Sagittarius is in this month, because the keshet over there has really 3 main colors to it, and these are the 3, what we call the 3 kavim of Shefa, or the 3 lines that really construct our neshama, that builds who we are. On the right side, we have Chesed, which is the power of giving. On the small, we have Gvura, which is the willingness to receive. And the middle, Tiferet, is the balancing force between the two. So our ability to receive in order to influence allows us to connect to a spiritual force. And the best time to do so is in Chodesh Kislev. And that's very important to understand. When you have something, it's for you to share. It's not communism. By all means, no. It's not communism. But it's social responsibility. And what yours is yours, but you should share also. And Kabbalah teaches us that every Chag, every holiday, in the spectrum of time that we have in terms of our calendar, opens a certain window. That window allows you to fix certain things and allows you to receive also certain abilities in yourself. And these are spiritual forces that are not available to you or to us during the regular days of the year. So there are certain call it spiritual windows of opportunity that opened up in Shamayim. And if you know how to tap into that, you really could acquire tremendous fuel to make it spiritually, not to be burnt out completely. So for that, the Mekubalim says that Chanukkah represents the spiritual level, or should I say the first spiritual level that a person acquires in his life, and everything that is associated with it. For example, let's say the Maccabim inside of you, the Yevanim, the Greeks inside of you. This is what you really. This is like signs. What we refer to in Chanukah, These are stages of development in your spiritual identity or your spiritual character. These are the forces that really in you. So in Chanukkah, the Mekubalim says that between those two opposing forces, the willing to receive and the willing to give, which are inside of us, which are the Maccabim and the Yevanim, and it's not just the Maccabim, not for nothing, we're also Kohanim, because the Kohanim represent Kedusha. Vayitem le Goy Kadosh umamlechet Kohanim, which is inside of us. Each and every one of us has this ability to reach Kedusha, or the Kedusha exists within you, just like a Kohen. Just like a Kohen. And just like a Kohen, there's certain things you're not supposed to be doing, and that's exactly what is happening here. So those forces are always inside of you. They're always inside of each and every one of us. So, and they really act in a complete disharmony, and they cannot coexist. They can't coexist. There's no such thing as let's make peace. I gave a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Those things you can leave for the psychologist on a couch over there in his mahogany office with a nice carpet and whatever it is, a burgundy sofa that you could do sessions over there, right? Leave that for them. I'm going to tell you that according to Kabbalah, you like this one, all right? You like this one? What?
The paintings.
And a painting of a real Van Gogh or something like that.
And the couch has to have a curve at the end where the patient lies down,
That's right, so you can lie down, that's right. Yeah. And you need to have this leather sofa that makes those sounds, that, like squishing sound. But let me ask you a question. That sounds nice, right? What kind of carpet do you want? What color carpet? No carpet? How about bird's eye maple floor with a small area, should I say, Kashmiri silk rug? So either that, or an iCamper rooftop with a GX 470, big tires with a winch, and which one would you take? You can't, honey. That's the whole problem. That's exactly what it is. It can have both. You can have both. You need to choose. It's going to be the red pill, going to be the blue pill. It's going to be dust and a big smile on your face, or that. You cannot have both. It's not Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde or whatever it is. It's not Alice in Wonderland, darling. You got to choose. What do you want? That's exactly the point, Mr. Z. You ain't no rebel. But I'm going to tell you, if you don't choose, you're going to suffer. And if you choose wrong, you're going to suffer. And choosing not to choose is not a choice. Choosing not to choose, that's the path of the loser. You have to choose. Now, they don't coexist. They're in complete disharmony. So what do you do? If you don't make the right choice, if you let the Greeks, and these are two forces, and since in physics there's no laws of energy, right? So if you would overpower one over the other, that would mean that all the abilities, let's say for example you take it out the Greek way, and I'm talking about spiritual thing, not physical thing, yeah? You're taking the Greek way, the materialistic way, all your abilities that you have, all the power that you have on the spiritual side will have to be attached to that, and you are gone forever. And the other way around. There's no such thing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. This is not country song. Got to make a choice. Got to commit yourself. What do you want? Want to be a couch potato or you want to be a Navy SEAL? What do you want? You got to commit. We're going to give a punch. You're not going to say, that's just a little teeny bitty like this. Either you're going to give a punch or you're not going to give a punch. Everything. You're going to do it, you're not going to do it. It's not don't start and then stop in the middle. That's the problem. We don't get anywhere. We get lost. So you know, all this forces that you have, that the temptations that you have outside, and this all exists first of all within you. It's what you reveal about yourself, and all this let's say external wisdom and the constant brainwashing that we as a society expose ourselves to is ridiculous. And they do one thing only: they overpower and overshadow your ability to grow. So instead of being walking in the shadow of that, it's about time that we cast our own shadow on other things. And you need to understand that. So life is very short, and the ability that we have to do things with power and to really make an effect are very narrow. You have a very small window of opportunity. So you got to act. You got to act, and you got to do it now. And the time for doing it, especially if you're young and your age, all of you, time to do it is now. The time to grow spiritually is now. You're going to have all your miserable life to work like a dog. But when are you going to grow spiritually? If you're going to let this overcome you now, you are gone forever. And every day you have to be mitgaber. You have to bring more light to your life. Every day more light to your life. More light, no more money. Do you give Judaism a fair chance? How many years have you gone to school, went to the propaganda of whatever the school systems that's given it to you? Especially at your age. If you're giving the same amount of time to Jewish philosophy, for Jewish growth, that you dedicated yourself, and then you wonder, you come and complain about the rabbis and this, you don't know what you're saying. You're just like a buffoon. I mean, for that were the case, there was Bilam and his donkey. The donkey opened his mouth. Many of us, when we talk, is like donkeys. We don't know what we're saying. Until comes a missionary from whatever it is, south down, somewhere in the Belt Bible, and it whips the floor with you. He knows the Bible better than you. Shame on you. Now, then what will happen? You will say, okay, I don't know what to answer him, but I know he was wrong. But that is going to keep inside of you all the time. That rot, that rust is inside of you all the time. The fact to throw your Jewish identity for every possible thing, that's terrible. Why all these people gave their life for? For what? For nothing. They gave their life so we could continue being Jews here. And be proud to be Jews. And to most of us, it's anything but. We sell our Judaism in 2 seconds if we had to. 2 seconds if we had to. So that's what happens. So that's what the Yevanim inside of us try to do. The Maccabim, on the other hand, which has the power of light, of goodness, these are complete opposite of what the Yevanim is all about. That really represents our internal wills that really are burning inside of you and really push you to look for what is meaning in life. What is life all about? And by understanding that there is a meaning for your life here, you're going to actually understand that there is a God in life. But when there is no meaning in your life, I'm going to take God also out of your life. And that's exactly what happened to all of us. Meaning, life without meaning, that's what exactly happened to all of us. They take away meaning from our life, and then they'll sell you anything and you'll buy it. Because now you took the good power and put it into the bad power. But that's the good power is inside of us. We can do it. We can do it. And the situation is not so easy sometimes as we can see. It's not so easy. There's a lot of temptation and so on and so forth. But each and every one of us knows that there is ability to create internal miracles in each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. When you just bring a little bit of light into your life, all of a sudden it's different. All of a sudden you could see, oh my goodness, I feel so good today and so on and so forth. I can come up from this bind that I'm at. So who's going to win this war? The Greeks or the Maccabim? Is there going to be a miracle? Is it going to be a miracle? Who's going to win this war? And this war is not for them that they want. The war is for you. Every generation, each one, every day, each one of you is in the forefront of battle, of darkness and light. Who's going to win? So the answer for that is very simple. You guys want to know who you're going to win? Who's going to win? Yeah, you want to know? I'm going to tell you. Whoever you're going to feed more is going to win. What do I mean by feeding more? Give it more koach. Feed it. Give it more nutrients. Be obsessed with whatever is its fuel, and it's going to take you further. That's very simple. So according to Kabbalah, a person has a free choice. And he has a free choice to make his own preferences, internal preferences. What does he want? You want this or you want this? You are the one to determine. God does not interfere with that. You can choose whatever you want. And the claim that this is how we were born, that's baloney, because even the Rambam would laugh at you. Rambam would say, this ability was given, by the way, to every human being to do the right thing or the wrong thing. Every human being. And if you think so, you are a fool, the Rambam says. So, the ability that we have, and the ability that we have to us and to create our own reality is in our hands. To say that I am that's how he is, I put feeling but I want to do this avera, that's an argument of the Yetzirah, of the darkness. That's your ego tells you to do that. But to really humble yourself, to break this inside of you, that's the Maccabim saying. He said, listen, the Maccabim could have said, I'm a Kohen. I can't do this. Chilul Hashem, I'm going to go kill people. I'm a Kohen, I can't do that. Dafka the Kohanim are the one who initiated that. And that's the Milchama of Chanukkah, was a war on faith. The war on faith. And only the Kohanim were capable of doing that. That's why Kohanim needs to be number one in learning, and number one to come to Yeshiva to learn, and throw out everything else that it's around it. Right, Kohen?
Who's Kohen?
So, and if the miracle, so the question is going to be a miracle, and that's exactly the power of Chanukkah. And it says, call upon him when he's near to us, right? And Chazal told us, as we said, that there is time that the connection with the light is very close, it's very easy. More for that, and that's the secret of Shabbat, and that's the secret of the Chagim. And that's why it's important to keep Shabbat and not to look for loopholes on Shabbat. How could I violate the Shabbat and not keep the Shabbat? People don't understand that. They're missing out a great opportunity. Now, we're going to daven Arvit a little later if you don't mind, right? You don't mind. So what we talk about, the Chanaya, or resting place, in Chanukkah is basically looking at those two parts, those two segments inside of me, and taking out the necessary, or measuring up the necessary air in my tires. For example, if what's the first thing that they tell you when you drive on the road? You have to make sure you have proper tire. Right? Air in the tires. Now, the more air I have in the tire, the faster I'll go. However, wait a minute. I'm here right now in my GX470, about to go in sand. So the first thing I do before I go into the sand, I need to do what?
Air it down.
Air it down, baby! Just the opposite. So I could create more traction. So I need to check the air out on my tires if this is my air pressure capable to, or is matching the terrain that I'm at. So that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. In other words, and where do I take those this extra air? Right? I take it from the tires, which are like my feet. And David HaMelech says what? David HaMelech said. He said a lot of things. But David HaMelech says, Ner leraglai dvarecha, your words are a candle to my feet. What do you mean candle to my feet? What do you see from your feet? But the remez is here. The idea is here. Your words, Hashem, would light my path and would match what I need to do. Udvarecha, what? All lenetivati. Right? And therefore, ner leraglai dvarecha ve'or lenetivati. And that's going to be a light for my path. So what that means, that the light I need to put into my feet. I need to bring the feet into the light. And what is that? So we said the netzach and the hod. And so I would say, don't call it raglaim, ela hergelim, into my habits. I need to bring the light of Hashem. I need to bring the Torah into my habits. Because the habits are not anything. They're not good habits. They're not bad habits. The habits are what I make them to be. And if there is light, they're going to be good habits. If there's going to be darkness, they're going to be bad habits. I need to bring into my every single day action. And the way I conduct myself, the way I hold myself, and the things that I do in an automatic way, without asking, right? I need to pay attention and stop and ask a question. So right now in Chanukkah, it's Chanu. They rested. It's time for us to actually examine what is that we're doing. Our daily routines. The little things that we do. Of course, we all know we put tefillin on, we're doing all this thing. But those little things that we do. How careful I am in netilat yadayim. What do I do when, and everything that I do. My habits. Chanu. And that's what we need to do. So that's another thing that the Kabbalah talks about in here. In other words, I'm taking the candle and I'm trying to light bechorim uzdakim, like Pesach. By the way, you all know, right? You all know that the distance between Rosh Hashanah and Chanukah is like Chanukah and Pesach, besides this year, of course. So the ner of Chanukah, you take this and you have it in mind, what you need to do, the bdika of chorim v'zdakim, that you do in Pesach. In Pesach, you do it le'or haner, lo le'or ha'avuka. You have to check yourself. That's another opportunity. And the ambition of the Greeks was, as we say, le'ashkicham toratecha, in order to make the Jews forget the Torah. So if you'll see that the main war of the Greeks against the Jews was the Torah shebe'al peh, lo Torah shebechtav. Well, it's very simple. Because Torah shebechtav was written so many things. That's cloth, the parchment went to so many. It will be impossible to eradicate it from the world. But Torah shebe'al peh, it's easier. And that's, by the way, what the conservative Jews and the Reform Jews did it to Judaism. They first started with Torah shebe'al peh. That's what they took out. The conservative and Reform Jews and everybody else that tags along after them wants to uproot Torah shebe'al peh. They are continuing what the Greeks could not have done. They are trying to do it to us. And how do they do so? By trying to remove the power of rabbinical Judaism from our life. And that's exactly what is happening in Israel now. When they try, I'm not a Zionist and I'm not, I don't get involved with politics and stuff like that. Absolutely nonsense. I don't care. But what they did is taken away the management of the chief rabbinate of Israel from day-to-day things. How? Taking away kashrut, taking away all these things. You guys are not going to have a monopoly anymore. It's exactly what they're doing. It's exactly what they're doing. And who started this whole process? The first secular Jew. What's his name? Baruch Spinoza. He's the one who started it. So yes. So now when we So where can we find, for example, today Torah She'Ba'al Peh? Besides here, where can we find Torah She'Ba'al Peh? These traditions in which the Greeks want to make us forget, and because of the miracle of Chanukkah, they were able to maintain it. So I'm going to show you quickly where. So let's talk about it this way. Let's look at the number 36. The Talmud, the Bavli says that the whole that really holds everything Torah She'Ba'al Peh has 36 masachtot in it. There's 36 masachtot, and this is where Am Yisrael was kept in those 36 masachtot. Now the Mishnayot are 63. It's the same number. 63 and 36 is the same number. And it's very interesting, the connection between Chanukkah and the Gemara, because who really collected and sealed the whole Gemara is who? Rav Ashi. Ashi Milshon Esh. It reminds us of Esh. So that Esh is, of course, is the Chanukkah. So when Am Yisrael was in its still glory, that we had Sanhedrin. And Sanhedrin, we know from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, had to have 71 people, right? So how do we measure the majority? What will be Da'at Harov? We need to have what? 36 people voting, and there will be majority as well. And this is, you see how ruling comes up in terms of determining what the halakha will be. You always have to have majority. You have to have 36 votes, and that's the number. It's very, very important. So if you look, for example, at the numerical value of 36, it's going to be Ohel, like Ohala Shel Torah. Ohel is 36. Now, Ayeka and Eicha is also, if you want to fix the chet that they did of the Galud of Eicha, which is associated with Ayeka of Adam HaRishon, Rabotai, learn Gemara. That will fix it. The concept of vidui, when you do vidui, right, you're cleaning your neshama out. The number of vidui is also 36. And of course, Leah, which represents the highest chibur of Yaakov, his Leah is also 36. So therefore, that is written in Aramite, which was really common in Babel. It's very difficult and long. So we need to make it easy. So what happens? Comes the Rambam. So the Rambam, that lived a few hundred years after Rav Ashi, really summarized everything in a very short version, and in Hebrew, the perfect Hebrew that he writes. And there is a remiss for that as well. How? Because if you look at the appropriate Sidurim, they write the word Chanukah without a vav. They write it without a vav. So, as we said before, the Bavli has 36 Masechtot, which are the 36 candles of Chanukah, right? Which the same thing, you see? So therefore, the Rambam divided his book exactly to 83 groups of halachot, right? There's halachot Shabbat, halachot this, halachot that, exactly has the gematria of the word Chanukah without a vav. So the miracle of the shemen and so on and so forth teaches us a tremendous lesson, right? It teaches us that the neshama of the person is a part of you, that there's no way that any tumah can touch it. The Greeks try to be metame the oil, because the oil you pour on the mizbeach and so on and so forth. But there is a part of you, in each and every one of us, that has the little tin can of oil inside of you that cannot get tum'ah. And all you need to do is to remember that the internal combustion source that you have inside of you, with the neshama, lights all the time and is burned all the time. And only thing we have to do is to decide to purify yourself. And that's a tremendous lesson for Chanukah. It comes to tells us that as long as the candle is lit, there is still hope, and you should still have hope in life, to better tranquility, and to become a better Jew. So take this time and actually do something beneficial with it. And with this, by Pesach, we're already going to be in Israel, Bezat Hashem. Chanukah Sameach.